Part 2. The birth of the deliverer. Born under the shadow of death in the terrified community of Goshen, where the Pharaoh's final decree loomed large, a man from the house of Levi took a Levite woman as his wife. They were one family among thousands, their lives governed by the harsh new reality that every son born was a life already forfeit. The woman became pregnant, and when she gave birth to a son, her heart both swelled with fierce love and plunged into profound despair. She saw that the baby was healthy, beautiful, a beacon of hope destined for the river's watery grave. Driven by desperate maternal instinct, she managed to hide him within the confines of their home for 3 months, defying the prying eyes of their Egyptian neighbors and the constant fear of discovery. But time is an unyielding master. When she could no longer conceal the growing child, she prepared for a heartbreaking ritual of surrender. She took a papyrus reed basket, sealed it meticulously with black tar and pitch to make it watertight, and placed her living treasure inside. This frail vessel of hope she set not adrift in the main current, but carefully among the thick reeds at the riverbank, a small defiant raft against the tide of genocide. The baby's older sister, a quick-witted girl named Miriam, positioned herself nearby, concealing herself among the lush growth. She stood vigil, a nervous, silent guardian, watching from a distance to see what impossible fate the Lord might have planned for her brother, found by the foe. It was midday when Pharaoh's own daughter, accompanied by her retinue of handmaidens, came down to the river to bathe the queenly ritual of purification and pleasure. As her servants walked along the bank, she caught sight of the odd stationary basket nestled among the reeds. Intrigued, she sent one of her attendants to retrieve the mysterious object. When the princess opened the small, tar-sealed ark, she saw not an animal or a treasure, but a tiny, weeping boy. The child, sensing the change in environment and the presence of strangers, was crying. Compassion, a rare and dangerous emotion in Pharaoh's house, pierced the princess's heart. She immediately recognized the desperate craftsmanship and the context of the find. "This must be one of the Hebrews' children," she declared, her tone softening with pity. Seizing the moment, Miriam, the observant sister, stepped out from the reeds. With a boldness far beyond her years, she approached the powerful princess. "Would you like me to go and find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" she asked, her voice steady. The princess, perhaps seeing the practical solution this offered, readily agreed. "Yes, do that." The girl rushed away, and moments later brought the baby's own mother back to the riverbank. Pharaoh's daughter, completely unaware of the familial connection, gave the mother the ultimate irony of royal protection. "Take this child and nurse it for me, and I'll pay you for your work." The mother, receiving her own son back with the full, paid protection of the royal house, nursed the child until he was old enough to be weaned. When the time came, she honored her agreement, bringing the child back to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her son. She gave him a name that would forever mark his destiny. Moses, meaning, "because I pulled him out of the water." He grew up within the magnificent, gilded halls of the Pharaoh, raised as an Egyptian prince, yet carrying the secret blood of a slave nation. The cost of awareness. Years passed. Moses matured into an adult, educated in the finest arts and sciences of Egypt. But the truth of his heritage was a thorn in his soul. One day, he left the confines of the palace and went out among his own people, witnessing firsthand the crushing reality of their forced labor. He saw an Egyptian taskmaster brutally beating a Hebrew, one of his own blood. A storm of rage and indignation swept over him. He looked around to make sure no Egyptian eyes witnessed the act. In a sudden, violent eruption of justice, he killed the Egyptian and hastily hid the body in the sand. The next day, believing his secret was safe, he went out again. But instead of an Egyptian oppressing a Hebrew, he found 2 Hebrew men fighting with each other. Moses intervened, saying to the aggressor, "Why are you abusing your fellow Hebrew?" The aggressor turned on Moses with chilling arrogance. "Who made you a boss or judge over us? Are you planning to kill me like you killed the Egyptian?" The words struck Moses like a hammer blow. The knowledge of his crime was out. Fear, cold and profound, replaced his arrogance. He realized, they obviously know what I did. The news inevitably reached the ears of Pharaoh, who instantly sought to kill Moses for the murder of his subject. Exile and sanctuary fearing for his life, Moses fled, running away from the might of the Egyptian empire and settling far away in the rugged, distant land of Midian. He found himself by a well, a place of meeting and sanctuary, sitting alone, contemplating the ruin of his royal life. It was here that he met the 7 daughters of Reuel, the local priest of Midian. The women had come to draw water and fill the troughs for their father's flock. But a group of aggressive, local shepherds descended and rudely chased them away. Once again, Moses saw injustice, and this time, he acted not with violence, but with authority and kindness. He got up, rescued the women from the bullying shepherds, and drew enough water to ensure their flock could drink. When the 7 daughters returned home unusually early, their father Reuel asked, "How were you able to come back home so soon today?" "An Egyptian man rescued us from the shepherds," they replied. Afterward, he even helped us draw water to let the flock drink. Reuel, a man of hospitality and gratitude, was confused. "So where is he? Why did you leave this man?" "Invite him to eat a meal with us." Moses accepted the invitation to settle and live with the man. In time, Reuel gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses as his wife. They had a son, whom Moses named Gershom, saying, "I have been an immigrant living in a foreign land." His years in Midian became a period of quiet, isolated contemplation, tending sheep far from the memory of Pharaoh's courts. The cry that reached heaven. A long, long time passed in the desert wilderness. The Egyptian king who sought Moses' life finally died, but the changing of rulers brought no relief to the Israelites. They were still groaning, weighed down by the relentless, cruel burden of their hard work. Their agony reached a breaking point. They cried out, and their collective cry for rescue from the sheer exhaustion and injustice of the labor finally rose up, piercing the heavens and reaching the ears of God. And God heard their cry of grief. More than just hearing, God remembered his eternal covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God looked down upon the Israelites, saw their suffering, and God understood. The time for the promise to be fulfilled was finally at hand.